When we talk about the Italian-American Mafia, we're talking about a legacy built on crime, power, and above all, survival. There's one key event that really helped define how the Mafia operates today: the Castellammarese War. This bloody, power-hungry struggle between two Mafia factions in the early 1930s reshaped the entire landscape of organized crime, blending the old-school traditions with new, modern methods. It was a turning point that set the stage for the Mafia as we know it today. Let's rewind a bit and understand what led to this moment, why it was so important, and how it changed the course of the Mafia forever. The roots of the Mafia in America. Before we get into the brutal fight that was the Castellammarese War, let's first explore how the Mafia made its way to the United States. It all started in the late 19th century when waves of Italian immigrants began arriving in cities like New York. They came seeking a better life but often found themselves in poor, overcrowded neighborhoods, struggling to make ends meet. Among these immigrants was a man named Giuseppe Joe Morello, often considered one of the founding figures of organized crime in the U.S. Morello, along with other early mobsters, didn't waste any time. They set up shop in New York, running small-time rackets, gambling, extortion, and counterfeiting. At first, the Mafia was just another criminal operation in a city full of them. But as the Italian population grew and the country industrialized, so did the Mafia's influence. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were on the rise. The golden age of Prohibition. Then came Prohibition in 1920, a game-changer for the Mafia. The government banned the sale and distribution of alcohol, but it didn't stop the people from wanting to drink. Instead, it opened the door for the Mafia to step in and dominate the black market. Bootlegging became their bread and butter. Suddenly, what had once been a collection of small-time crooks turned into major players in a multi-million-dollar industry. With the demand for illegal alcohol skyrocketing, the Mafia expanded rapidly. But this success also brought fierce competition. Multiple factions fought for territory, control, and influence in the lucrative liquor trade. The stakes were higher than ever, and that's where the Castellammarese War came into play. The clash of two Mafia titans. By the early 1930s, two of the most powerful Mafia factions were battling for supremacy. On one side, we had the faction led by Joe the Boss Masseria, an old-school Mafia boss who had control over much of the gambling and bootlegging in New York. On the other side, there was Salvatore Maranzano, a more modern-thinking mob boss who wanted to reshape the Mafia into a more organized, corporate-like entity. The war between Masseria and Maranzano wasn't just about control of territory, it was a fight over the future of the Mafia itself. Masseria was stuck in the old ways, relying on brute force, intimidation, and loyalty to his crew. Maranzano, however, wanted to introduce a more structured, professional approach to the business. He believed in hierarchies, commissions, and a clear division of labor, much like a corporation, to run the Mafia more efficiently. The conflict between these two titans of the Mafia wasn't just a power struggle, it was a clash of visions for the future of organized crime. It was a battle for survival, where the winner would define the future of the Mafia. Key events: betrayals, assassinations, and power shifts. The Castellammarese War was brutal. Both sides employed classic Mafia tactics: divide and conquer, and take out anyone who stood in the way. Masseria, with his iron grip on power, wasn't just fighting for control of New York, he was fighting to preserve the old ways. He didn't hesitate to eliminate rivals, making sure anyone who could challenge him was taken out. Masseria's biggest rival, Maranzano, wasn't just sitting around waiting to be wiped out. He fought back with a vengeance, securing powerful alliances and even bringing in big names like Vito Genovese, who would play a key role in the future of the Mafia. But one of the most pivotal moves came when Maranzano ordered the hit on Joe Morello, one of Masseria's closest allies. This assassination was a game-changer, and it sent shockwaves through Masseria's faction, weakening him significantly. But the most shocking twist came when Masseria's most trusted ally, none other than Lucky Luciano, decided to betray him. Luciano, who had been rising in the ranks of the Mafia, had become disillusioned with Masseria's old-fashioned ways. Luciano saw the writing on the wall and realized that Maranzano's vision of a more modern mafia was the future. So, he made the ultimate power move. He switched sides. Masseria's fall and Maranzano's short-lived victory. In 1931, Luciano's betrayal was the final blow to Masseria's reign. Masseria was assassinated in a restaurant, in a hit that has since become the stuff of mafia legend. His death marked the end of an era, and Maranzano emerged victorious. The old guard had been vanquished, and Maranzano's vision of a new, more organized mafia seemed to have triumphed. But as we all know, in the world of organized crime, nothing lasts forever. Maranzano's victory would be short-lived. Just months after his rise to power, Maranzano himself was assassinated, this time at the hands of his former ally, Lucky Luciano. Luciano, ever the opportunist, saw an even bigger chance to reshape the mafia in his own image. And with Maranzano gone, Luciano set about creating the modern mafia structure we recognize today, the legacy of the Castellammarese War. The Castellammarese War wasn't just a power struggle, it was a revolution in the mafia. It marked the end of the old school, violent ways of doing business and the birth of a more organized, business-like approach to crime. It was a bloody war, full of betrayal and assassination, but it changed the mafia forever. Lucky Luciano, who had switched sides in the middle of the conflict, became the key architect of the modern mafia, creating the Commission, a governing body to mediate disputes and make decisions for the entire organization. The war was the catalyst for this new era, and it would set the stage for the mafia's power and influence for decades to come. So, while Masseria and Maranzano might not be household names today, their conflicts shaped the very nature of organized crime in America. The Castellammarese War was, in many ways, the beginning of the modern mafia, and without it, who knows where the criminal underworld would be today? The rise of Lucky Luciano and the Americanization of the mafia. The Castellammarese War ended in 1931, and while it might have seemed like Salvatore Maranzano's victory, it didn't take long for the power to slip from his grasp. Maranzano, after claiming the title of boss of bosses, had big plans for the mafia. He saw himself as the supreme ruler, but his authoritarian style quickly rubbed people the wrong way. Maranzano was on top, but his overreach led to his downfall, thanks to a man named Lucky Luciano. Luciano, a young and ambitious player in the mafia world, had been biding his time, working quietly behind the scenes. He was no fan of Maranzano's heavy-handed rule, and he saw a better future for the mafia, one where things were less chaotic, less violent, and far more organized. Luciano's decision to betray Maranzano wasn't about just grabbing power for himself. It was about setting the stage for a new era of the mafia, a more modern, professional organization. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comment section.